Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dion Harding.
Love that song. Love that movie. And in this corner, in the gold trunks and the black trim, Rocky Balboa. Love that movie. Why? Because like so many of you in this room, it reminds us of a time when we had to succeed despite the odds. When everything was stacked against us, we still came out victorious. And the most interesting thing is, Rocky never worked alone. He may have been alone in that ring, but as he prepared, it was Rocky, his trainers, his family, and eventually the entire Philadelphia community were all behind him, contributing to his success. And that's the way life works. Once people see you are passionate and working diligently to reach your goals, then they will get behind you and support you and help you reach your goals. And if you continued to watch the Rocky series, I can't remember, was it Rocky 13, Rocky 14? For a minute, I thought they were in a race between Sylvester Stallone and the directors of Friday the 13th to see who can have the most sequels. Either way, if you continue to watch the series, Rocky's most hated rival, Apollo, eventually joined his team. And if you think about it, this was probably extremely difficult because Apollo was used to being the champ, the biggest, the toughest, the strongest, the most popular champion in the world. And they held that crown by himself. But that's how life works. When you meet someone who earns your respect, you have no problem deferring and joining their team. So now Rocky's team becomes all-inclusive. It includes minorities. It includes women. And it includes people from different walks of life. And Ronald Reagan said it best. It's amazing what you can achieve when you don't care who gets the credit. And for Rocky's next opponent, he was very, very tough. So they had to come up with a strategy to decide how they were going to defeat this opponent. So they wanted to confuse this opponent. Rocky was a southpaw, a left-hander. So one of the things that Apollo and his trainers taught Rocky to do was to fight right-handed. Apollo teaching Rocky to fight right-handed showed that there's a little bit of Apollo in all of us. We know there was a time when we were used to being the only one, the biggest kid on the block. But eventually we have to realize sometimes we have to share that block and be all-inclusive. And he teaching Rocky to fight right-handed reminds me of a book I once read, a very simple read, a book written at most the 6th grade level. But the lessons learned from this book were enormous. I'm sure several of y'all may have read it. Who Moved My Cheese? By Stephen Johnson. A book about two mice named Him and Haw. And the names was perfect because all they did were Him and Haw all day long. But why shouldn't they? For they had a superfluous amount of cheese at the same time, in the same place, every day. Say it with me. They had a superfluous amount of cheese at the same time, in the same place, every day. Never had to do anything different. They had so much cheese, they became couch potatoes. Could you imagine two mice sitting on the couch, flicking the remotes with pot bellies? This cheese sure is good. And that's the life that they lived. Until one day, somebody moved their cheese. No big deal. It will be there tomorrow. Well, tomorrow turned into next week. And next week turned into next month. Next month turned into 6 months. Those pot bellies that they had started to disappear. They started to look malnourished. And still, all they wanted to do was hem and haw about the good old days. Days when they didn't have to do anything different. They didn't have to work any harder. They just did the same thing because they had what? Same cheese at the same time in the same place every day. Corporate America is becoming more lean, more efficient. And part of that lean efficiency means becoming all-inclusive. And it's diversity in the people that they work with, but also in sharing resources. There's no more, this division has their own resources. This division has its own resources. Sharing resources helps, of course, cut costs. And we have to learn to work with others. So in other words, corporate America is moving our cheese. Which brings me to a word that some people hate. In some circles, this word is so bad, it's considered a curse word. So I will say it very low. Change. 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 But I have an acronym that makes change a bit more palatable. Change can stand for challenging, historic attitudes while navigating growth and exploitation. And this change is a seminar within itself. So for today's purposes, we will concentrate on the vowels, the A and the E. And attitude is key no matter what you do in life. We might as well face it. In today's society, it's more popular to be negative than it is to be positive. Every conversation goes back to how bad the economy is. How was your day today? Oh, just happen to be working in this economy. How's your workout going? Oh, just happen to be working out in this economy. Well, how's your breathing? Just happen to be breathing in this economy. Well, how do you think things are going to turn out for you this year? I'm just hoping to keep my head above water. And don't get me wrong. We all have reasons to be upset about the things that have happened in our economy. Myself included. I know the story just as well as anyone else. My wife was laid off from a very lucrative corporate job of several years. Now I can sit at home and cry and moan about loss of income, or I can say we have a young son, and now he will have his mother at home with him to nurture him during his developmental years. It's what we magnify that makes the difference in our attitude.